Hi everyone. Every day we see animals, birds and other living creatures. You can see a neighbor's dog or your own cat or a dove on a windowsill up close, but not the tiny organisms that we share the planet with. Some of them are way too small for us to even notice. Others are too shy or happen to live in places which are quite hard to reach. But today, we will show you these amazing creatures living near you. Let's get it on. Ants. We hardly ever look at tiny creatures like ants. Biologists and curious children are usually the ones who are interested in everything that crawls, flies, and swims. Meanwhile, if you set up the optics and persuade the ant to stay still, you can see that it's not particularly attractive. It has antennae, its body is covered with hairs, and it looks at you with a dead-eyed glaze. Like other insects, ants have an exoskeleton, an external chitin shell that provides support and protection for the body. The antennae on their head are sensory organs used to detect chemicals, air currents, and vibrations, and also to receive and transmit signals through touch. And oh yes, don't forget the mandibles. They are used to carry food, build nests, and defend against enemies. They're also there because some ants bite, and you definitely don't want to experience that.
What? Oh, here's one. Oh.
You've probably seen ants that carry leaves, but they don't use them for food. Atta, or leafcutter ants, use pieces of leaf to feed a mushroom that grows in their nests. The ants in turn then eat this mushroom. No wonder ants are considered the most advanced species of insects. Squid. Octopi and cuttlefish are masters of underwater camouflage, blending in seamlessly against a rock or coral, but squid have to hide in the open ocean, mimicking the subtle interplay of light, water, and waves. But how do they do it? Oh, squids are very good at it, and you won't understand how they do it unless you take a closer look. To control the color of their skin, cephalopods use tiny organs in their skin called chromatophores. Each tiny chromatophore is basically a sac filled with pigment. When needed, the muscles press the sac, spreading it wide and exposing the colored pigment to any light reaching the skin. When the muscles relax, the colored areas shrink back into tiny spots. This way, squids make light bounce off their skin and blend in with the water, as if they're flickering almost. They are literally hiding in plain sight. By the way, some species use this method not only for disguise, but also for communication with each other, but that's a story for another time. Mosquitoes. There is absolutely nothing good about mosquito bites.
That's good.
These insects irritate us with their buzzing and often don't let us sleep. Not only do they drink blood, but they also leave the skin really itchy. Not to mention the fact that these insects can carry truly dangerous diseases that result in death. This tiny creature can cause a lot of problems. Most people have some idea of how a mosquito bites us. The proboscis penetrates the skin and the insect starts drinking the blood. However, upon closer inspection, this process becomes truly disgusting. Not so long ago, scientists discovered that the mosquito's mouth is not just one tiny spear, but a sophisticated system of 6 thin needles, each of which pierces the skin, finds blood vessels, and allows mosquitoes to easily suck blood from them. 2 of these needles have some kind of teeth, naturally very tiny ones. The mosquito uses these teeth to pierce the skin. Another set of needles holds the tissues together while the insect prepares to bite. Then the needle with the sharp end probes the skin, piercing the vessel and sucking the blood from it. Well, the 6th needle then releases saliva and delivers chemicals that support blood flow. This saliva causes the itching and sometimes carries dangerous diseases. Caterpillars. They say that the caterpillars are quite voracious and ready to eat everything that comes in their way. The best leaves become their breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But not because caterpillars just love eating. These creatures, which will turn into butterflies in the future, need to accumulate protein. In other words, they need to use every opportunity to eat, so they do it when they can. It's not easy for people to understand this strategy because we don't go through such stages. A person is born as a smaller version of themselves and then just keeps growing throughout their life. But the life cycle of caterpillars is completely different. First, they just eat all the time. Then they turn into a chrysalis, and then to a completely different creature, a butterfly. As soon as the caterpillar becomes a butterfly, it immediately switches to a liquid diet of sweet nectar and even loses its mouth, getting a thin proboscis instead. While the caterpillar was mostly preoccupied with eating, this butterfly is busy with procreation. It flutters back and forth and looks pretty beautiful. Now imagine if people would undergo the same transformation. Water striders. They may look serene as they glide across the surface of a stream on a warm day. It seems that water striders are small skaters who don't even need ice to make pirouettes. They defy gravity and literally walk on water, but not at all for the sake of looking beautiful. In fact, water striders are predators, and to study them, you need to take a closer look. The body and feet of water striders are covered with hard waterproof hairs to enable the water striders to glide across the water's surface. The water striders spread their weight out with their long legs. The shorter front legs are used to capture prey and to change speed while gliding. Water striders make turns by moving their legs in different directions. They can even jump to overcome obstacles and then land back on the surface of the water and continue to move. The diet of water striders mainly includes small invertebrates that have fallen into the water. During warm seasons, these unusual water skaters walk on the water searching for prey, and when the weather gets cold, they get out to land where they find shelter under the bark of old stumps or in some moss. Blackback crabs. Crabs are not the kind of creatures that can usually be seen up close. Firstly, they're easily scared and tend to hide at the first sight of danger. And secondly, when they don't hide, they usually just try to attack you. The most important thing is not to let them grab a knife. Well, you know what could happen. Meanwhile, black crabs are pretty cute creatures. They have a large black spot that covers a large part of their shell, and although the shape of the spot may vary depending on the physiology of the species, its location remains unchanged. The legs, claws, and outer parts of the shell are reddish, orange, or whitish, and the carapace's width can reach 11 centimeters. Blackback crabs live in the Atlantic coast and inhabit the islands of the Caribbean. That's why they're often called Caribbean crabs. The mantis shrimp. This amazing creature, whose length can reach 20 centimeters, has 5 pairs of limbs and a brightly colored shell. Don't forget about the 2 large faceted eyes as well. These eyes have 16 types of photoreceptors. For comparison, a person has only 3, but their colorful shells contain an impressive set of superpowers. Mantis shrimps prey on small fish, shrimp, cuttlefish, and polychaete worms, and do so at the speed of a bullet. And this is not an exaggeration. With their spring-loaded, weaponized legs, these predators can crack a snail shell or harpoon a passing fish in a single punch. Scientists even managed to calculate the approximate speed of the punch. It's 80 kilometers per hour. Don't forget, this is a shrimp we're talking about. Moreover, these blows produce a wave of heat as well, so even if the claws don't hit the target, the victim still has no chance of escape. By the way, even though the mantis shrimp can easily penetrate the walls of the aquarium, these creatures are often kept in captivity, and usually they don't try to escape. Jumping spiders. Even people who hate spiders think jumping spiders are quite cute because they are tiny and really charming in their own way. 8 lovely eyes, small legs covered with hairs. Jumping spiders look like they were drawn by a cartoonist. These spiders have a well-developed internal hydraulic system too. They can expand their limbs by changing the blood pressure. This allows the spiders to jump long distances, far exceeding the size of their own body. Before the jumping spider attaches a silk web thread to the spot that it jumps from. But these spiders gain fame not for their jumping skills, but their mating rituals. Of course, in order to see all this in detail, you have to use special equipment, but it's well worth it. To attract the attention of females, almost all species of jumping spiders have to perform a special dance, during which they raise their front appendages and sway from side to side. If the female likes what she sees, she may allow him to mate, but things can also go terribly wrong for these 8-legged suitors. She might decide to attack him or even eat him for lunch. Cannibalism occurs in about 7% of all matings. Lice. If you've never seen lice and only read about them in books, then today is your lucky day. Today, lice are often carried by kids. They can pick up this dangerous insect by accident too, in crowded places, in public transport. Yes, even just taking a selfie with an infected person might be dangerous. However, it's not so simple to see the lice. They glue their eggs to individual strands, nice and close to the scalp, where the heat helps them hatch. But this isn't the only problem. Lice then feed on human blood and bite several times a day, and it hurts. They then move through the hair, sometimes from one head to another, clinging firmly with their scythe-shaped claws. Lice even have a small spiky thumb-like part called a spine that helps them keep their grasp of the hair. Their drive to stay on a human head is strong because once they're off and lose access to the blood, they starve and die within 24 hours. This must be why lice have developed immunity to many of the drugs we use to poison them. They're just very motivated to stay on a human's head. However, scientists still have ways of fighting them. And by the way, if you worry that you can pick up lice from a pet, don't. Human head lice only live on our heads.